Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. I apologize, I am late for the show. Very sorry. I left Kev waiting backstage as well. I've been enjoying some non-league football in Newcastle. My daughter's officially a football wag. We went to see her boyfriend playing for his team, and they won 1-0. But I had to rush in, get on the show, and yes, we are going to talk all things Aston Villa. Kev, how are you doing, my man?
I'm okay, mate. I might be playing a bit of football myself tonight. Um, did score the winner as well, so put that in your things that don't happen very often. Um, because we were starting at
I
10, I
wondered
had the
what you were going to say then. To
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
fair.
Careful. And then I had the quickest shower known to human beings to get on here for 10 o'clock, and then you decided not to bother. So
I'm sorry.
it's
I'm
all right.
sorry.
It's all
I'm
right.
sorry, but we have got loads in the chat already. I will try and say hello to as many people as I can. Make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. I actually checked with very, very close to 4,500 subscribers, and we just hit the 2,000 mark around last year when it flashed up on my phone. So to think now, another year on, nearly 5,000 subscribers on the road, it's crazy. So thank you for all your support, but keep liking, keep subscribing, and keep helping the channel grow. As I say, we're going to talk all things Villa pre-season, reaction to the game on Saturday night. Was it Saturday night, Sunday morning? We've got another game coming up tomorrow night, Thursday morning, and then another one on Saturday. Focus on a few of the players, talk transfer rumours as well, and of course, get your questions in. Anything you want to talk about Villa on and off the pitch. So let's dive in straight away. Obviously, we had a game on Saturday night, Sunday morning, as I said, Kev, Columbus Crew, 4-1 defeat. Little bit. I mean, I'll get your thoughts on it first, and I'll kind of chime in because I did my match reaction, and I said it was a bit of a, what did I say, rude awakening, and maybe got a little bit of controversy, little few comments here and there. But what did you make of it in terms of that a 4-1 pre-season defeat?
Well, it's a bad defeat for one. The numbers, but how much do you really pay attention to pre-season when you're basically playing, different teams in the two halves? You've got most of your top star players still aren't there. They're in the middle of their season, so they are going to be naturally quite fit and match sharp. I only saw about half an hour of it. I wasn't going to start for it at all, and then I ended up thinking, oh, it's getting closer to the kickoff time. I watched about half an hour. I actually thought some of our patterns of play were pretty good in the first 25, 30 minutes that I saw. It was really, really tight at times, sort of like breaking the press. And I thought, well, it's going to get you in a bit of trouble a few times. But it did appear that we were vulnerable to the ball over the top. Woke up in the morning, saw we'd lost 4-1 and thought, oh, crikey, it's clearly not gone very well. We know there are still some questions, and maybe, just maybe, that might sharpen a bit of focus at the club. Although I say that, to think for one second the club don't know what they need to do when they've got Emery Monchi there, then it's not like they've gone, oh crikey, we've
I
shipped a
know,
few
yeah.
goals.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
we need a
yeah,
centre
yeah.
half. Now we need a centre half. If you hadn't been for that defeat at Columbus Crew, we would have just kept going with what we got. But yeah, maybe might sort of push a few things over the line. I'm not taking too much into it, really, mate.
No, I think there's numerous ways to look at it. Obviously, it's a case of getting minutes into the players' legs. The players are as a club, you're probably more focused on the actual training sessions than the actual matches. The matches are kind of the extension to the training sessions. Essentially, you're going to try things. You're going to try players in different positions. You've got a bit of a mishmash of a team. But what you're looking for is like those principles to come through. And some of the goals that we conceded and the way that we conceded them, I wouldn't be particularly happy with. And that's where I thought that it might be a bit of a wake up call or a rude awakening or whatever I called it to some of the players like making mistakes. Unai Emery, like you say, maybe sharpens his focus a little bit as to what's needed. And also, yes, we can be like, as a football supporter fan base, can be like, it doesn't matter about preseason, whatever, whatever, especially after a defeat. But we were all talking about how brilliant Morgan Rogers was, how brilliant Nedeljkovic is, how fantastic these players were when we beat Walsall 3-0 and we beat Spartak Trnava 3-0. So you can't have it both ways. You either say, we're not paying any attention to Morgan Rogers playing well in pre-season because he could equally start the season off and have 2 or 3 stinkers, or we can say actually that does matter, and when we lose 4-1, it does matter as well. You can't rationalize a defeat and say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just pre-season, but equally say how brilliant every player is when we win 3-0.
Yeah, you got to be consistent, haven't you, with your narrative? Like, this is the thing I think, which is a problem just in the modern world generally,
Yeah.
is people just flip flop whenever it suits them. Oh, they're all shit. The next week, they're all brilliant. Hang on a minute, last week. But we probably should have the same level of patience and not getting too carried away when we beat Warsaw and obviously teams in across Europe that we should beat. Then we do it if we lose as well in pre-season. All that matters is West Ham United Saturday night, 5:30. When of course we'll have Martinez, Watkins, Tielemans, Konza, maybe Duran, if the rumours of West Ham getting full Krug are true. So some of these players back basically. It'll be different, and of course some of these players it's still pre-season. They've still got
Oh
quite
yeah,
a time to go.
I totally agree with that. I'm just saying that there are elements of that would have concerned Unai Emery. It would have concerned the players. They're not going to want to. You've got a player who in Chucho Hernandez who couldn't get in the Watford team properly, who scored a hat trick against you. Yes, Columbus Crew are in the middle of their season. They're really sharp. They've got a good team. They've got a good coach. However, you've got to see certain things that might show some little signs to where we come. Equally, the fact that Morgan Rogers is playing really well, looking really sharp. The fact that Amadou Onana, made an impact. Ian Matson made an impact when he came on. Philogene made an impact, and you can see little relationships building on the pitch. You can equally see that, as well as you can see the gaps that might need to be filled, or the players that might potentially be moved on. I wasn't particularly impressed with the goalkeeper the other night. Doesn't make him a bad goalkeeper, but I wasn't particularly impressed with him. So therefore, he needs to step up, or Unai Emery's going to be like, you know what, we might need another goalkeeper.
We make the point about Cucho, and let's not forget, not that long ago, towards the end of the season, El Khaby from Olympiacos looked like he was, prime Marco van Basten, didn't he, against us? So
Yeah,
maybe there is just a little bit of frailty which we knew that at the end of last season that we were struggling a bit defensively. At times, obviously, long late, wasn't phenomenal. There was weakness at the fullback areas at times. Has that totally gone away? I still think there's a big question mark. Obviously, Mings, we think he's still probably quite far off if he's not, featuring, even properly on the tour. There's the rumours about Carlos, and do Villa fans think Carlos is the answer? Konza coming back will be massive. We've got Torres. We're looking a bit weak otherwise at centre back, aren't we? And I think that is a really big thing for us. Right back, I can see Cash staying. I can see him going with Cash and Nedeljkovic, but I can't see that changing. But is that still an area that they look at as wanting to strengthen? And of course, Kamara is going to come back in. Tielemans will come back in. That midfield will be a lot stronger. Barkley will get fitter. Anan has only played a few minutes, obviously after having a bit of time off as well. So it will be very, very different, won't it?
Yeah, that midfield, I mean, is an embarrassment of riches at the moment, and it is wonderful to see the different options we've got in that midfield, and even in the wide areas as well. That is really, really good to see. Like you said, you've reeled off names there. Anana, McGinn, Ramsey, Buendia. Fantastic to see him coming back on. Barkley. I know he wasn't fantastic. He wasn't great the other day, and also Enzo Baranachea. I mean, he's been again. We're talking here about players that have impressed us, and maybe again having to curb our excitement a little bit. But he has looked like, I think he's surprised a few Villa supporters in terms of what we maybe expected him to be, and he's looked really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely he has. And I think we thought, is he going to be someone that's going to be backup? If you think if Kamara's fit, if Anana's fit, is he going to be backup? But I mean, look, 4 competitions, fighting on all fronts. Maybe it just means that you're getting a bit of squad rotation, but he's showing some really promising signs. Obviously, he's not had that much proper men's football, has he? That's that loan at Frosinone. Obviously, I think he said himself was his first real big taste of doing it, and performed pretty admirably from what I've heard. So, the Premier League is obviously not easy, but I think he's shown in pre-season so far that he's got He's got a good eye for a pass, tackle. He's got good energy. I think he looks like
It's
he's a
that
real
one. It's that
decent.
wanting the ball that's looked
Yeah,
good for me. That's the thing. He's just jumped in and grabbed, almost grabbing his opportunity with both hands. He looks like he's really keen to want to impress and want to get on the ball. Now, look, the real thing comes if he starts the first game of the season, and then it really matters. So it's yeah,
yeah,
it's that's when it really matters. You can look as busy as you want in pre-season, and also, and equally, there's some players who are really experienced who might be looking a little bit sluggish at times. Like a couple of people have commented about Ross Barkley, but he knows his own body, he knows his own minutes that he can get out of it as well. And as I said right at the start, a lot of the time it's about the training sessions, and the matches are just an extension to that
yeah,
point. They would have had a training session in that morning, so you could see some of them at 60 minutes were blowing, and that's to be
yeah.
expected. And John McGinn's actually said today, they've been working really, really hard in training. So that's the point of this exercise, isn't it? That's the point of going out to train in this hot weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've obviously, whenever you've been disappointed with other players in recent seasons, have often pointed to the fact that they're hiding from the ball. So I
Mm.
think there's really good signs for that for Enzo. In terms of players, whether it's McGinn, Torres, Barkley, etc., maybe aren't quite at it. Uh, I'm worried about it. I thought Barkley last season looked like he was absolutely full of beans through the season. Looked like he was always sweating a lot, but he seemed to be getting up and down that pitch like crazy. So I've got no doubt he'll be fit and ready to sort of play his part. A lot of these players have had a lot of time off. They are coming back, and we have to factor in that it doesn't matter what level of footballer you are. If you're coming up against someone that is in prime fitness because it's the middle of their season, you only if you're an amateur footballer and you have 3 weeks off, how much more off the pace are you when you come back? And obviously it's a slightly different highlighted version of that, but some of these people have had 3 or 4 weeks on a beach, a couple of weeks of bit of football here and there. Bang at it they were. To be fair to them, you've got to give Columbus Crew a bit of credit and a
Yeah, they pressed us well, and they look very well organised. And
good scalp for them.
yeah, however, I don't know what podcast it was. They said if they were in if we were in the middle of our season and they were in their off season and they came over to play Villa in that period, we would look like ridiculously good compared to them. If they were
Yeah, be
in
11
there.
nil, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So, as you say, there's a bit of context there. However, what would you be looking at? We'll talk about kind of gaps in the squad. There's a few people in the chat there. But what are you expecting, coming up to the next couple of games? Obviously, I'm sure they're training probably now in the US time. I'm sure they're looking at doing a session in the morning tomorrow before their match. So what are you expecting from the next game in terms of Aston Villa? What you wanting to see?
Well, I think it's important to put that bad result behind you, really, and whatever it takes. I mean, look, they're not going to play the full strength team that I've got in the squad for 90 minutes to get the win at all costs because it's going to get us 3 points. But I do expect to see it to be a bit tighter. Probably be a bit less exposed at the back. There obviously was a couple of errors, wasn't it? And obviously a couple of times we got beaten obviously by the high line, and it does worry me a little bit with obviously the change into the offside rule, whether that's going to hamper Villa a little bit in terms of the tightness of some of those calls. But um, they just going to want to put it behind them, aren't they? And I think the only way you put it behind you is putting in a good performance, is a couple of other players getting the name on the score sheet, keeper getting a clean sheet, and all the things that always make football teams and football fans feel better. And clearly, it's not going to change our lives whether we lose the next game or not. But
No.
losing can be just as contagious as
Maybe I
winning.
was just a bit more annoyed the fact that I'd stayed up till 3 a.m. and
Yeah. Well, it's like you feel like I felt when I drove to Brighton last season with my lad, and
yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ, so that long drive back, and yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
toying with the idea of doing it again tomorrow, but I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. What about Emi Buendia? I mean, great to see him back the other night. Expect to see a few more minutes from him. Do you think Jacob Ramsey will come into the side? John McGinn, obviously, I think will play some part, and Yuri Tielemans as well.
yeah, I am. I think we will probably see Ramsey at some point. Buendia, it's wonderful to see him back. Obviously, we've all missed him a lot, but I think we're at the point now with the squad and the embarrassment of riches you've got. Then you've got to look at it and go, if everyone's fit, actually, what part would Wendy play when he's come back? Because he's still obviously going to be a little bit. Cheers, James. He's still obviously going to be a little bit ring rusty, isn't he, in terms of what he can actually do? And I feel really bad saying that, but I wonder whether Buendia has become a better player in the year that he's had off in our minds. Do you know what I mean? I wonder whether his ability to affect the game. Because I know he had a great preseason last year and he was decent. I think that obviously last season he played, but it wasn't like he was unbelievable. Since then, we've obviously had Rodgers come in. We've had Bailey's resurgence, basically. And showing some of that Leverkusen form. Are we getting a little bit kind of sentimental about Emi Buendia? Is he going to stick around? Is he maybe going to go and get 6 months on loan somewhere? Is he going to stay in the squad? If he does do that, where's the room for everybody else? Particularly if you bring in a Felix, if you bring in a Mateta, etc., then there's only a certain number of seats on the bus.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be determined. I'm sure he's got that mentality, hasn't he? And it's about kind of showing yourself now, isn't it? And for players like him, Ramsey's obviously going to want to get fitness, but then he's going to show form because Morgan Rodgers, as we've just said, is starting the season well. And one or two other players, particularly in that midfield area, they want to get that. They want to be getting that starting shirt, and there's Champions League football to be playing about as well. So, yeah, 100%. Let me just go through some comments. Paul Kelly said, Columbus Crew were last season's MLS champions. They are mid-season. I'll be at the match tomorrow. Can't wait. Hope to see more than one Villa goal. Well, thank you very much for watching, Paul. And hopefully you and the other American supporters will be enjoying it. PJJ said, Enzo looks good. And Rich says, I'm not going to lie, he's impressed me. Rachel said, I swear if we had VAR, 2 of their goals would have been chalked offside. Michael said, I'm not stressed about the score as I believe there was a lot to learn, plus getting our football legs back. So I feel positive about things. You're always positive, Michael, always. And PJJ said, Enzo reminds me of Jack, always wanting the ball, passing, then picking it up again, looking to link up and progress the play. And Villa Forever Chad says, we need a support striker in case Watkins gets injured. So we're going to talk some transfer links in a second, but it brings me on to that point. You've mentioned maybe centre-back being a little bit of a worrisome area. Where else do you think maybe these friendlies, or as the friendlies go through, are highlighting maybe 1 or 2 areas that we might need reinforcement still?
Well, I definitely think up top is an obvious one. With Watkins not being there, Archer, he's got a great finish on him, and you see the clamour now for Archer. Let's keep him around. I'll be equally as surprised if Archer leaves as if he stays now. I think, depending on that homegrown quota thing we've got to think about. But do I think Archer is the man to lead the line in the Premier League game, Champions League game consistently if Watkins is injured? No, I don't. I think he's probably a bit too lightweight, and I don't think he does enough sometimes in the games. I think if he comes alive in the box, which is great, but is that enough in terms of what he offers? So I think some kind of striker is definitely needed. I think some kind of top quality Diaby type attacking, transfer, whether that's a Felix or whatever that might be, someone like that. Goncalves, a Buena. Various links. Have a great time, Alex. Enjoy.
Cheers, Alex. Enjoy the match, mate. Enjoy the match. Send us some pictures and stuff if you can, please, mate.
And fullbacks, we've got more left backs than a left back shop, and right backs we've got. Obviously, we've now if Nedeljkovic is going to be part of the squad, we've obviously got 2 in terms of Cash and Nedeljkovic, and Cons can play a hybrid. So wouldn't necessarily think I'd see that changing. For me, it's definitely centre half, definitely striker, and probably that support sort of attacker type player. Number 10, whatever you want to call it these days.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Adamski says there Mings is back up for Torres, but do you think we can wait for Mings to get back fit? Do you think Mings is going to be at the level that he was? I mean, I really like him in terms of his leadership, and hopefully he comes back, but I don't know, man. And then all you need is an injury to an Ezri Konsa or someone like that. And to me, Pau Torres and Diego Carlos, it just doesn't carry the same pace as what I thought it might do.
I think with the fact that Longlay's gone back, I think we'll definitely bring someone in. I can't see how we'd weaken the squad unless Mings is closer than they think, and that's the reason why they're going to do that. But when you come back from an injury like that, same with Wendy, it's quite easy to break down again. It is, or it used to get niggly injuries. Mings' presence, as Mings was the season, obviously before he got injured, I still think Mings could be in a shoo-in for starting in this team. Physically imposing, great in the air, quick. Actually showed himself to be better and better under that 6 months in Emery in terms of ball distribution as well. I think that Mings could be easily in some games, Mings, Konza, bang, Mings and another right-footed centre-half, whatever, if Konza's right back. I'd have no qualms with that at all. We just don't know about Mings' condition, and we're not hearing too much about Mings' condition from the club. So if it is that Mings is a question mark, you've got Konza, you've got Pau Torres, you've got Diego Carlos. I think you need somebody in there. Maybe you get someone, a savvy, long lay type, someone early 30s, possibly free transfer, etc., etc. Someone to bring a bit of steel, particularly someone with Champions League experience. I think is important. I'd like someone coming in that position who's a physical presence. Who can win the ball in the air, because it's been sorely lacking since Mings has been out of our team. And I think with Onana in the team, if we had a physically imposing centre half, I think we'd be so much more solid in defensive set pieces and so much more potent in attacking set pieces as well. So I think that is actually a sore thumb sticking out now in our squad. Plenty of time to fix it. Not been that many links, not been many things I've been seeing out there. But I do think it's somewhere we will strengthen.
Yeah. Shane said Mings not even back on the grass yet. I think he said maybe he's thinking December. And Michael said he loves Mings, but don't expect him to get up to speed until the new year. And Chad says we need to break Tyrone Mings in gently. Definitely. Aaron says, Rich and Kev, my brothers, we need to be real here. We still have some players that have that not the good mentality. Cash, Carlos, Moreno have to go, and Pau Torres can pass, but he can't defend. So interesting stuff there. Interesting stuff. Hermoso still kind of doing the rounds. It's back and forth with. He's obviously out of contract. Is he waiting till the end of the window to see who might come in for an offer? Are we actually gonna? Have we actually put anything on the table for him? David said on X says Carlos will be moved on. Johnson from Palace be a great signing. Interesting stuff. So yeah, that and David on also said Mings at best is a squad player. So yeah, it does it's not concerning or anything like that, but it would be good to get that position set up, and then obviously that backup striker or competing striker or different option to Ollie Watkins. Yes, we've talked about Cameron Archer. And I think James has commented about maybe not necessarily being obliged to have this quota of English players, but I think it helps with numbers in the squad. But today's been linked. We've been linked with actually putting a bid in for Hoffenheim striker Max Bayer, and that's around 30 million. But apparently, numerous clubs have been interested in him. Chelsea and Aston Villa. Apparently, we're not at the top of the queue. I don't know how they know that, but we'll see. And then today, this afternoon or early evening, it came through that Jean-Philippe Mateta of Crystal Palace we've been heavily linked with and maybe made initial talks about him. He's due to be out of contract, I think, probably the end of this coming season, and could be available at a cut price deal. Now, he ended the season on absolute fire. What would your opinion be on either of those players?
There's the whole potential of Bayer, isn't there, in terms of the pedigree shown so far, the links. I've seen various reports saying that we're not in for Bayer apparently. So
Yeah.
again, who knows what to believe in this day and age? But he's 21? He's had a decent season last season. Obviously, he's made his debut for Germany in the last 12 months. I think he's got real potential. I actually think, though, in terms of what we need, I think Mateta would be ideal. I think he'd be ideal. He's 6'4". He's an absolute beast, and he's got pace. I think he could play. I think you could pair him with Watkins, because obviously Watkins is a bit more mobile. I think you could play him as an alternative to Watkins. I
Yeah.
think he'd be absolutely ideal. You'd bring someone in there who you could start in the Premier League, start in the Champions League. You know, he's a really, really. I mean, there was initially a point where they're like, "Oh, is he any good? This guy? He had a decent score record, I think. You know, his previous clubs, but back in the last season, you probably got to argue he was arguably the player of the second half of the season in the
He
league. I
was
mean,
unplayable at times. I mean,
mhm.
and he always scores against Villa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe at least you help your goal difference a little bit, don't you, if you sign him? Um, so yeah, I think Mateta would be a great signing, and we're in a position now as a club where we can offer players Champions League football.
Well,
So if
that's
it's
been the thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure lots of players want to play in that, but I mean, Mike said he's played at the Olympics today and scored, but he's got 2 years left on his contract now. Sometimes agents put these stories out, and then it'll come into the news in a few days' time that Mateta's signed an extension to his deal and he's been granted
yeah,
pay rise and stuff. So there is a risk that he's using us as a bit of bait to, oh, if you don't put me on a contract, I'll sign for Aston Villa.
yeah. I mean, this is always the case, isn't it? You get all really excited about it, and all of a sudden, Mateta signs still. I've always loved Crystal Palace till 2029. Um, but let's be clear, right? You know, he's played at Mainz, he's played obviously at Palace, he's just turned 27. Aston Villa can offer players Champions League football this season, and I think if we're in for players, they might be pushing it a little bit with their clubs. We surely there's got to be somebody. Normally, in a situation right where a team has got Champions League football, they get a player from a team that is also doing pretty well because it's a step up. Oh my God, it's
Mm.
Champions League football. We've bought Onana from Everton, so I think Onana, was always going to go on from Everton somewhere. But there's not been in many of those situations. As Matson's, I think, is a good acquisition. But a few make weight deals, a savvy signing in Barkley. I'd like to see someone where it's like, you know what, they are. Whether that's an Eze type. So if we've got Elise, I know he's going to Bayern Munich, of course, but someone like that. I think someone alluded to it earlier in the comments, but I think as it Anderson, Joaquin
Mhm.
Anderson at Palace would again be an excellent signing for someone like that. Someone who's got that kind of quality they've shown it, in the Premier League, got that experience, international experience. I think these are the kind of players now I think we should be bringing in. I think we've got obviously some good young players. I mean, a bit of experienced players that are a bit battle hardened and can put their foot in, get stuck in, physically imposing, but of course with quality to play at the highest level, which is obviously what we're going to be in next season. You don't want to be in a scenario where you're having to bring on whether that's a Swinkles or a Feeney, where in the cauldron of a Champions League fixture somewhere. So we do need players like that, and yeah, absolutely. Mateta for me would be chef's kiss.
Yeah, I like him. I really do. And I think you've said there could play together with Ollie Watkins, could be a different option. He's awkward, he's gangly, he's rangy, he can finish as well. I think he adds some other qualities that we maybe haven't got. And I think maybe this was something that Duran could offer, but obviously Duran hasn't necessarily worked out that mentality yet. And there seems to be a saga here with John Duran and finding a club because he's maybe flirted a bit too much with West Ham and they've kind of gone cold, or
Mm-hmm.
Villa are in hard negotiation with them. That's what Rachel seems to think. And then there's a potentially a bid from Saudi that might not be as attractive to John Duran in terms of his profile. What are your thoughts on this situation with Duran?
Well, it's on BBC Sport that West Ham are in talks with Fulkrug, the German striker from Dortmund, and they don't normally. I mean, they have a gossip section, but they don't normally put it in terms of a main article unless there's some serious legs in it on the BBC. So, unlike a lot of other reporting, but we won't get into that. But generally in sport, they're pretty good. So that looks like that door is getting shut for Duran at West Ham. So it's all well and good doing this on your Instagram live, whatever it was, but like, what's he going to do next? Like get offered to Leicester City and like do a little fox face or something, on something. I don't know what he's going to keep playing this game. He's going to like all of Chelsea's tweets, delete all his Villa stuff. I've had enough of Duran now. I've had enough of him. There's too many little things now that are just pissing me off about him. And look, if you don't want to play for this team in the Champions League next season, where he'd probably make 15, 20 appearances, he'd probably start 10 to 12 games. He'd probably make, he'd probably make 25, 30 appearances, wouldn't he? In terms of if he ended up playing 50, 60 games, fingers crossed. He could get himself 10, 15 goals. He could win some trophies. If that's not good enough for him, if he wants the London lifestyle or the big wages, whatever, good riddance to him. But looks like Chelsea's not happening. Looks like West Ham have moved on in terms of their targets. And clearly Villa have got a valuation because by all accounts, there was a firm offer of 30-something million, 32 million, and obviously Lewis Orford, highly rated player. And we've said we wanted the 40 million. It's obviously key as
well.
well.
I'd imagine there's some sort of sell on that Chicago Fire have put onto it as well. So there's probably some sort of percentage that has to go to them. So when you factor that in, we paid 18 million for him. They've probably got some level of profit that they want to make off him, knowing that there's some sort of sell-on clause in there that I'm sure Chicago Fire would have put that in. So yeah, they've got a valuation. We don't need to sell him as such, but you want to get players. We are heavy with players in this team at the moment in the squad, aren't we? And that's potentially the issue with signing new players where we know we need strengthening the team.
Well, obviously Ben Christiane's gone today. It wasn't really a fixture in the squad, but he's another player.
I think it's 1.5 million he might have gone for as well.
Take it, 1.5 million for a player that wasn't anywhere near our first team. It all helps, but we have to do something. I think with the Dendonkers, the Chambers. It's a really valid point. Talk all day long about bringing these players in, but like we said on the pod a couple of weeks ago, what does that mean? And it's all well and good having this fantastic squad if you can't pick half of them because there's not enough players available to put in your squad. Then what are you going to do? I think it's a really interesting one with Duran. I think Duran as a profile of player, young, physical, clearly got a lot of attributes, can score goals, is someone that could be an ideal foil for Watkins now, in terms of someone.
Not an ideal fool.
Not an ideal fool. Well, he is an ideal fool. He's not an ideal fool, yeah, but he's the kind of player that you'd want. You'd want someone that's a little bit unpredictable, that you could bring on and know that he would change the game, whether that's red card or goal. But you want someone that's going to make a difference, and he's got that in his locker. But we clearly can't rely on him to want to be here because it's been for a bit of time now. He's been making noises.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got to get a shot of him and want to maybe look at moving on one or two other players, and it's going to be interesting to see how that's negotiated. Whether there is a player like a Buendia that goes out on loan, maybe does Dendoncker go out on loan again, or someone else as well? Olympiacos was talking about him, but that's gone maybe a little bit quiet. So it is interesting to see who we might need to shift. But then again, if you get rid of John Duran, you've generated 60 million for Diaby, 40 million for Duran. That's like 100 million pounds there to look at spending, which is a lot in the coffers. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Everyone, we've got nearly 300 watching. Please do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. I haven't checked how many likes we're on. Someone said we're on 6 before me. I had well over 100 people watching. We're obviously on X as well, so make sure you follow us at Villa Park Pod on Twitter, on X, but make sure you do smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. We're very close now to 4,500 subscribers, which is fantastic. So please do like, subscribe, and keep your comments flowing in. I'll try and get through as many as I can. Lots of people saying that Duran thinks he's better than he is and get rid, which is absolutely understandable. Now, Kev, one player who is apparently coming, Emery's a massive fan. We've talked about him numerous times on this pod. You love him. You want to see him in claret and blue.
Benny McCarthy. Right, is it Robbie Keane? Is it Robbie Keane? No.
Robbie Keane, Benny McCarthy.
Is it Miller?
Every season?
Milot Rashica?
No, sadly not. So no,
Oh,
he
okay.
turned us down, mate. He went to
Did
Norwich.
yeah. Go
Yeah.
on.
Joao Felix. Now we've
Yes,
seen
please.
loan deals. We've seen loan with obligation to buy. We've seen potential bids going in for 40, 50 million. Where are we at with this Joao Felix? And do you want to see him at the club?
Yes, 100%. I do. I think the comparisons to Coutinho are a little bit lazy because I think he's significantly earlier in his career. Admittedly, he's not been sparkling, but does his style of play suit Atletico and Simeone? Was he playing for a particularly good Chelsea team? Did many of those Chelsea players cover themselves in glory in that loan spell he had for half a season there? Every time I've seen him, I've always been really, really impressed. I think he's got everything. Emery loves him. If Emery loves him, I love him. And I think he's an absolute quality player. I really think he's the type of player that Emery could get into and get him getting the best out of him, basically. So I'd love him at Villa. Obviously, it would be expensive, and that's why I do think if we can get it on a loan with an option to buy, subject to how he performs, I think that would be the ideal outcome, really, because you haven't got that long-term financial outlay, FFP, and all that. You just got to factor in for a season, and we can obviously offer him Champions League football and the opportunity to work with a coach like Unai for a top Premier League team. And how amazing is it to say that? And to showcase your talents on the best stage. And I do think we would play to his strengths. I really think we would. So I think it's a win-win all round. By all accounts, the player, I've seen some stuff on X today where saying he's open to the move. Why would you not be open to the move? I do think part of him as a pro footballer probably wants to prove himself. He didn't have, the best time in the Premier League before to show what he's all about, basically. Um, let's not forget, Mohamed Salah and Kevin De Bruyne didn't have a brilliant first spell in the Premier League, and look what they've gone on to do. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I just think he would be absolutely ideal for this team. It's a bit of X factor, bit of star quality, that lock unpicker that we need basically, and particularly when we're playing a lot of teams that are doing that are very defensive, aka the low block. It's difficult to get past them at times, and he'd be ideal.
Mm, fair enough. Des says he would be an expensive bench warmer and a kick in Watkins' balls. I do think he would be a support though to Watkins. Mike says Diaby wasn't a second striker and numbers were still good. Felix would be the next level in that
Yeah.
support striker position. David said buying Felix for 40 to 50 million on current form would be stupid. Loan with an option to buy, then yes.
Yep.
So yeah, Adamski said he's with Kev, is with you on this. So I think I think I can see merit in it. But I can also see the risk in terms of the outlay and then it being almost a bit of a flop. And it's difficult not to think of the Philip Coutinho situation, even though it is a totally different situation with regards to age, injury, profile, that kind of thing. But I guess we've been kind of burnt with that type of player, the luxury player almost that can come in and maybe unlock defenses and that kind of stuff, but then is kind of flattered to deceive. Although I think wages wise, as we said last week, he's not on too much of a higher wage, so maybe isn't as a huge a risk in terms of wage outlay that we maybe think. And he's probably got a sell on value as well, hasn't he? But you're going into the realms of dealing with these agents and stuff like that. Is it Joao Mendes is his agent? You're getting into
That's
that
right.
kind of super agent territory, aren't you? Where if as soon as he starts playing really well, he'd be angling for a new contract, angling for a move to a bigger club or something like that. I don't know. I think I would really like him at the club, but I can see why people would have reservations.
Well, look, we're not going to sign an Mbappe, are we? Or, a Rafael Leao or, a Vinicius Junior. So if you want to bring that top quality type player in from a club like, obviously, Atletico Madrid,
Mm,
who's at the age that he's at, then you probably are going to have to get someone that's maybe a tiny bit flawed in some sense. Whether that's they've not played much football or they've got a slight booze problem. You
there
know what
you
I mean?
go. There's the motivation for you from Des.
Jesus Christ. I'm renting here, so I'll have a word with my landlord if you want.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
the message.
But yeah,
Beautiful.
it's
Wow, look at
like you
that.
say. Go on.
Fantastic. That is. Look at that. It's lovely.
Yeah,
Anyway, there you go.
authentic. What were you
I'm done.
saying?
That's. I don't know even what I was saying. I just got sidetracked by wood. So yeah.
But yeah, look, it is a slight it is a slight risk, as you say. But any signing's a risk, aren't they? But you've got to trust. If, like you said right at the start, if Emery rates him, likes him, and he obviously can see something that he's going to bring to the team, something that he can get out of it, then he can sign who he wants.
Yeah, and I really also do feel like he would be a star for us. I think he'd be brilliant. I think he'd be brilliant. I think they'd be waxing lyrical about him out there. Just imagine the situation, and Barkley to Felix into Watkins, Benny McCarthy. No, like it's. I can just see it happening. I can just see it. I can just see him fitting into this team perfectly. We've got wide players. We've got more central midfielders than anyone could ever want. Um, we just lack a little bit of that quality, don't we, between the midfield and the attack. I think he'd be
Mm.
perfect. Rogers, Ramsey, similar type players, different type, more physical, more kind of, you know, showing their pace and power. Felix is a bit more of a craftsman, isn't he? A bit more of an artist. Still strong, still physical, but yeah, I think it's been ideal signing. Imagine Felix, Mateta, and who would our dream centre half be?
I
Jackie
don't really know.
Anderson, Palace.
He's okay. I think I'd like someone quicker. I'd like someone fast. I'm
Koundé.
not sure who, but I'd like someone fast. I think if we're playing that high line, we need someone who can get in and recover.
Yeah.
That's my preference. Yes, I
Car-
know Konsa can do that, but just I'd want two central defenders who can play that high line and be able to recover quickly.
Kyle Walker.
No,
Not the
nah,
way. Not the way he played, obviously. In
nah, nah. Mark Gay,
mm,
he'd be
okay,
he'd be he'd be fantastic.
it would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. James said any player Emery gets his hands on, you can see will be improvement. Adamski says we've moved up in the rankings to buying semi superstar, semi rejects. Yeah, Des said sorry guys because we lost our track, but no, that's all good. Will May VFC says up the Villa from San Diego. Amazing stuff. Thank you. Hope you are. I don't know if you'll get into a game over the next few days. Rod says Emery has improved me as a fan. God knows how good he is with actual players. Exactly. Exactly. Des says not excited by any of Emery's signings, but look at what this guy does to players. If he gets the players he wants, he will turn them next level. Absolutely. And Rich says Felix is cultured on the ball. Now, a few in the chat have been talking about goalkeepers. I know Chad from Villa Forever podcast been talking about goalkeepers. There's been a bit of chatting there. Do you think we'll go for another goalkeeper? We've got we've got Gauchi, we've got Robin Olsen. Obviously, Emi Martinez is so far ahead as the number one goalkeeper. And there's been a couple of players. There's Oliver Zeech, I'm sure he'll go out on loan, but we've sent Philip Marshall out on loan this week or last week to Crewe, sold Sinisalo to Celtic. We seem to have like a good clutch of goalkeepers, but it's such a difficult one, isn't it, to be the backup goalkeeper to the number one goalkeeper in the world?
Yeah, I don't know whether we are, to be honest. I don't know whether Gauchi is now going to be up there with Olsen as like, that's going to be our three. Um, I don't know. I really do feel like I'd like a more experienced, better Olsen. Someone that if it's a big Champions League game, right, and Martinez is injured, or whatever reason can't play, how confident are we as a fan base for either the young, fairly unproven Aussie Gauchi to play, or for Robin Olsen to come in? And I would think we'd say across the board we're not that confident as a fan base. And having someone that could come in and would be, you get that classic third goalie, don't you? Which often has been, for a lot of the big clubs, a Scott Carson type, Tom Heaton type goalie, where you can get your squad, you can get your English quota, whatever, homegrown quota. Um, I think we're all right for a third goalie. I think we need a decent backup, someone that's happy to be there. But then the thing is, it's the same problem you've got with the Watkins. Are they going to, if Martinez is fit in Champions League and Premier League, are they going to play much? But then do you
Yeah.
come to Villa to be the cup goalie?
Well, yeah, and with our record in the cups would lead us to in the domestic cups would lead them to believe they'll be playing 2, maybe 3 matches.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe
So
maybe one match. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe one match. Maybe you play Gauchi in one game, and you know, and you play the second goalie in the other game, and that's you out done. So, and Emery does. I don't think he'll pay much attention to those. Hopefully, a bit more. You know, if you get a favourable draw, particularly in the League Cup in like the third round, and then favourable draw in the fourth round, then you're not that far away from Wembley, are you? So maybe you'd have a go at it. But is that enough to take someone top quality? This is the problem. Is how many great second goalies are there out there that are better than
yeah,
Olsen?
and the difficulty is as well is we haven't generated enough of the funds by finishing in the higher positions long enough to be able to spend 20 to 25 million, 30 million on a backup goalkeeper,
Yeah.
because if you spend that much money on a backup goalkeeper, you're wasting that profit and sustainability money or whatever it is, when you could be spending that more on a player in a more effective position for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still up in the air for me for transfers for Aston Villa, and you know you could add Goldie as being something, but I don't think it's much of a priority as it as some of the others.
No, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Anything else in terms of rumors? Anything else in terms of news that we wanted to cover? Obviously, we've got the friendly on Thursday. We've got friendly Saturday. We've got coming back to England the week after. We've got Atletico Bilbao, I think, and then Borussia Dortmund. So some big high profile friendlies to come before
Yeah,
that big kickoff on the 17th.
yeah. I don't think there's anything else really. I think I think we've kind of covered everything in terms of the positions we need, all of the transfer links as well.
Oh,
No,
Calvin Phillips. What do you make of that one?
no, thanks. Get in the bin now. Crazy to think that 2 years ago I would have absolutely ripped your hands off for him. Like, but I think he's fallen so far away now in terms of just he's hardly played, and then when he did play, he looked absolutely abject, didn't he, at West Ham?
Mm,
And I just don't think we need him as well. Kamara will be back hopefully this year. You've obviously got Enzo. You've got Anana. Like, what's he going to do? Where's he going to play? I think that is a dud link. I think they're just pimping him around everywhere.
yeah, yeah. I don't think I don't see it. Like you say, we've got so many midfielders. Where is he going to fit in? And it'd be the wrong move for him because he wouldn't get games. He needs games.
Yeah,
He goes to an Everton or someone like that. You'll get
yeah, that's
games
the
there.
ideal move for him. Ideal move for him. Show what you're all about. You know, rather than coming to Villa. I don't think he'll hardly play.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Scott says, when do Mings, Watkins, Conte, and Martinez join up with the squad? I would imagine it'll be after they get back from America. I don't think they're going to travel out to America. They
No.
weren't announced as that squad list. So I'd imagine it would be the Monday after they get back. So
Yeah,
they might play some part in the Dortmund friendly.
yeah, I agree. I don't think they'll be in America. I'd be interested to see if there's any more new faces through the door. I think there's a lot of work in the background that needs to go on. You know, if we were to put the whole squad list up now, we'd probably find there's got to be five, six, seven players that we need to move on. So I think it'd be interesting to see what outs happen, and can we get any funds? It gets to a point soon where you might just have to let someone go, even if you don't make much money on them, because you need to free up the space to have a proper go at it. So it's a very much with Aston Villa as always a watch this space type situation till that window shuts.
Yeah, I do think you said right at the start. I mean, Louis Barry, I'm sure will go somewhere, go out on loan, but I do think the likes of a Dobbin or even like an Illing Jr. or someone like that could well go out on loan. They could
Mm,
well go out on loan because are they going to play enough games to warrant being in that
yeah,
starting squad?
I think you're probably right. I could see an Archer maybe going out on loan, or maybe even being sold again. Depending on who we bring in. So I think there'll be. I still think there'll be a surprise in outside of a Felix, and I still think there'll be some of the players we think might hang around going out on loan. You're right. I think an Ealing Junior is an interesting one. But does he maybe go out on loan? Yeah. I think Enzo will probably stick around.
Yeah.
I think Nedeljkovic has probably shown enough to stick around. But if you bring in a top quality right back, maybe, and Cash doesn't go, maybe he does go on loan again. Who knows?
I don't think Cash goes at all. And to be honest, other than that mistake the other night, I think he's looked pretty good. I
Yeah,
think
he's got
he's looked like he's been
experience.
doing extra training over the summer. I think he looks pretty strong.
I think Cash
Yeah.
is a really, really good option for a squad now. He's still a good age. He's physical. He clearly got his limitations, but he's also got his strengths as well. And
Mm.
I think he's decent to have around the squad, probably to start. I mean, I think Konza will probably start quite a few games at right centre back if we strengthen at centre half. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. David said, when is the away kit and third kit out? Do we know? I don't, to be honest. I'd imagine the away kit will be out probably the week before the first home game of the season. I'd imagine they would maybe wear it for the Dortmund game, and then obviously they're going to wear it for the West Ham game.
yeah, yeah.
Home, they'll give the home kit some time as well to keep selling. It's not in the Newcastle JD shop. The Newcastle away
Boo!
kits out. The Man United kits are in there. Barcelona, PSG, and Barcelona kits are in there, but
You want to
no
have a
Villa
word?
kit.
You want to
I
have a
know.
word?
I want to have a word. But yeah, I'd imagine that. I think they might bring out some of the training kit before the away kit. I think people are kind of craving the training kit first
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that, and by all accounts, the home shirt is selling very, very, very well. So they'll do it in stages because they want to maximize as
Of
much
course,
money as possible, don't they?
of course. Clever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Have you purchased the kit yet?
I saw Emery wearing a filthy looking number in one of the videos somewhere, so I'm keeping my eye on that for the training range.
Oh, the training range is going to get a hammering for me. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
definitely. But
yeah.
Aiden, I haven't bought Aiden the kit yet. I think he wants the goalkeeper top.
Of course he does.
So that's
That's
the
quite
one.
naughty. That is a goalkeeper top on it with the red
Yeah, I
stripe.
know, I know. I
Yeah.
don't know what, like, I think I was saying this to Sam the other day. I don't know if they've just been lazy and just gone, oh, we'll just get the Argentina goalkeeper top, or whether they've done it to make Martinez feel more at home. But
I'm
either
gonna
way, I don't mind.
I'm gonna go with the latter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, all good, mate. All good. So we've got a game tomorrow night. I think I'm gonna stay up for it. I'm
Gosh.
working from home on the Thursday. Why not? I'll stay up for it. And yeah, hopefully we might see some more transfer rumours. Is it going to be Mateta? Is it going to be Joao Felix? That might rumble on, I think, longer. There's talk about Sergi Roberto, another left back, but I think we'd have to get rid of a left back first, but we shall see. I've got a show coming up very soon with Academy AVFC. I know I keep promising it, but very soon that will be out. And obviously more transfer talk shows, more match previews, more match reactions. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Sorry we were late tonight, but as I said, I was out and about watching a bit of non-league football. But thank you everyone for joining in the chat. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new on your way out. Thank you everyone for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.
Cheers all.